possibility of retirement or anything like that. But I get it, you know, especially when you look around, you see people driving Ferraris and Lamborghinis, and that seems to be
But I mean, hasn't the same fucking thing been going on forever, bro? Haven't people been saying that shit forever? Like haven't people been saying shit's fucked forever? Like every year, it's the same kind of spiel. Like people are struggling, people are this. Like has that has it always been like this? I don't think this is really nothing new. Am I tripping?
the new normal now. A lot of people try to aspire to have that kind of stuff in life, but it's just not realistic for most people. And likely because of social media, somewhere along the way, people's standards of what's normal or attainable have gotten completely out of whack, okay? But this video is going to correct that for you. Because contrary to popular belief, not everybody's out there living the lifestyle of the rich and famous. In fact, most people aren't. And the ones who you see who look like they are probably broke and drowning in debt. And something that's always been a big part of the problem is financial education, guys. In fact, only about 37% of Americans have a basic understanding of financial concepts. So improving your financial literacy can lead to a lot better investment decisions and saving decisions, and just enlighten you on what you should be doing in order to have a more stable and fun future. It's just not fun scrounging for pennies and trying to get by. So the first sign that you're ahead of the average person is, do you have an emergency fund? Meaning, do you have enough money for at least 3 to 6 months of expenses completely saved up? It also means you will not have to go into credit card debt or any other type of debt to pay for an unexpected life event. That's what an emergency fund is, okay? But a lot of people actually don't have this. About 2/3 of Americans don't have an emergency fund, guys. So if something happens to about 65% of the people out there, they're gonna have to draw on debt in some form or another in order to pay for that emergency. Or worse yet, if they lose their job, which can be devastating for a lot of people, now they could end up in an even worse situation, you know, being evicted from their apartment or losing their home in foreclosure. Things like that happen to people that don't have an emergency fund. And this is why you hear so many people are living paycheck to paycheck today, because they don't have that emergency savings saved up. So if you have any sort of emergency fund at all,
today, like I said, what did I say in the beginning of the video? I feel like it's always been like this. I feel like there's always going to be the haves and the have-nots. There's always going to be the people that adapt. At the end of the day, intelligence is ultimately just your ability to adapt to new environments. There's always going to be people that can adapt and people who can't, and people get left behind. It's always it's just the same. It's the same shit, bro. So it's just this: do what everyone else is doing, get the results of everyone else. Do what no one else is willing to do, get the results that no one else gets. It's that simple. Is it easy? No, but it's that simple. It's not rocket science.
Just 1 month or 2 months, you should be proud of yourself, because it means you're doing better than about 65% of Americans right now. And the number of people who are living paycheck to paycheck just continues to grow over the years. In fact, about 78% of US workers now report living paycheck to paycheck. So you can kind of lump this in there with this first category, that if you are not living paycheck to paycheck and you have somewhat of an emergency fund saved up, you're doing pretty good right now. The second thing is you have a savings account. God. 1/3 of Americans today have no savings at all. And
what are we doing, bro? What are we doing, bro? Now, I can't tell if it's just like an individual, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's like that person's fault, or just a matter of the circumstances as a whole. But you know what? Over here, we like to take accountability, and we don't like to blame outside things. Yeah, there are outside factors that ultimately can affect us 100%, but we like to focus on things that we can't control over here. And if you're capable of simple math, you can walk, you got all your faculties, all that good stuff, you don't have any learning disabilities, then you're capable of getting right. You're capable of getting right. It's just a matter of if you want to get right. And on top of that, just the doom and gloom and all that stuff, a lot of people just, just give up. Just kind of just, I give up. Like, what's the point? Kind of, you know, energy in the atmosphere. What's the point? I'll keep spinning. I mean, it's all fucked anyway, so I might as well just fuck it off anyways. Enjoy my life. And granted, that could be a decent strategy to cope, but long term, bro, it could be disastrous. So I don't know.
50% say they have less than $1,000 saved up. $1,000. 50% of people don't have $1,000. I remember I actually made a video about this over the summer when I was in California, and a lot of people were like, oh, that can't be right, Michael. Well, it is. I know it's shocking. I know it's kind of hard to believe. Like, how can you not have at least $1,000 saved up? 50% of people don't, guys. And we're not talking about people in third world countries. We're talking about fellow Americans here. And you got to be honest with yourself. You know, if this is you, this is where you really need to start with your finances, okay? It's imperative that you break away from this sort of cycle in life, because if you don't have money for an emergency, or you don't have even $1,000 saved up, or really nothing at all, you're just going to be accumulating problems and debt.
How the fuck can you live like that, bro? Not to talk down on anyone in that situation, but like, and I've been in down ass bad situations before, so like, I'm not coming like on my high horse, but like, bro, when I was in those situations, the only fucking thing on my mind was to get out of it, bro. It's just, how can you just keep living like that, bro, without something that's just like, I know a lot of people are fed up, but the thing is, a lot of people are fed up and they're not really taking action to get out. A lot of people are just fed up and they're just like, I'm giving up.
That eventually are going to leave you bankrupt and put you on a path where you may never have any sort of financial freedom ever. If this is resonating with you, you realize that you might be in this category. This is also your sign to start turning things around, because this is not the path you want to be on if you want to have a prosperous life in the future. And unfortunately, this is becoming too much of a trend in the country. I mean, if you look at the personal savings rate from the Federal Reserve, going all the way back to the 1960s, guys, people were saving about roughly 10% of their household income. Fast forward to today, it is close to near all-time lows at about 4.4% as of the November 2024 reading. So it is not looking good.
Wasn't looking too hot back in the early 2000s either.
That, you know, people don't want to save money, or they're buying too many things. A lot of it is due to inflation and the loss of our purchasing power, which we'll talk about more in a little bit. The third stat that puts you ahead of the average Joe is, do you have any money saved for retirement? Anything at all. If you have something, you're already ahead of a lot of people. About 25% of Americans have no retirement savings at all. So if you have some, you're already in the 75% of people who have something. Now, the average of what Americans have saved for retirement is about $88,000 as of 2024. So if you have more money than that saved for retirement, you're doing very well right now. Now, that's just the average across all different age groups, okay? So don't feel too bad.
Yeah, I mean, 88,000 across all age groups, yeah, that's not gonna cut it, bro. How long would $88,000, if you really had to make $88,000 stretch to the absolute maximum, how long would that fucking last you in today's day and age? How long would that last you? It's not good enough. It's not good enough.
Fall below that number, because a lot of people will, especially if you're on the younger side. But if you're somebody who's trying to better your financial future, you should be striving to at least save about 15% of your salary and put that towards your retirement in order to put you on track, guys. And honestly, if you can afford to save more, then go for it. Because also, the more you save, the quicker you can get to retirement, you know? Everybody has to determine that fine balance for themselves of when does it make sense to save more and when does it make sense to spend more in life, you know, because you have to live while you're alive. You don't want to save everything towards the end. But if you're comfortably saving 15% and you know you could at least save 20 and still have fun, by all means, do it. Now, the fourth financial stat that can put you ahead of the average Joe is how much money you actually earn, okay? As of 2023, the median household income was at $80,610, which was a 4% increase from 2022, which they make it sound like, oh, people are getting rich over this, which they're not.
Wait, really? Oh, household income, not individual, okay. 80,000, okay. And most people are saying you need around 100K just to even feel like you're living decently comfortable these days. Fuck, man.
That was just necessary wage increases that people needed just to keep up with the tremendous inflation we saw during that same time frame, which was well over 9% with the official numbers. And to make things even worse, that's the first real wage increase we saw since 2019. So that's not really a good thing. They make it look like it's a good thing that people are making more money, but really that was just a necessary cost of living increase that still wasn't enough to keep up with the life that we have to live now. But I want you to take a look at this Fred chart here that goes all the way back to the 1980s, okay? And in 2019, people were already earning about $81,000 a year. Then it actually went down. And then it crept back up as of the 2023 reading to the 80,000 that we just talked about. So essentially, over the past 5 years or so, household incomes haven't gone up at all. And when you adjust for inflation, they've actually gone down significantly.
Right.
This next thing I'm going to show you proves that. So when you go back to 1989, for example, on this Fred chart, people were earning $64,000 a year, median household income back then, okay? And this just goes to show you how poor everyone is today, relatively speaking. Because when you adjust that $64,610 people were making in 1989 and bring that into
Yeah, that's fucked.
2025 numbers, that would be equivalent to making about $164,000 a year now, which is double what the actual median household income is.
Wow.
Okay, so somebody who was earning $64K a year in 1989 was equivalent.
So yeah, like these guys having these max contracts and shit in the league and shit like that, like NBA, NFL, all that stuff, bro. That real people were really making that money. But it was people who was having them good contracts back in the 80s, 90s, bro. Because, bro, at this point, the money's just like, it's just a figure at this point, bro. It's just an inflated value, bro. Ultimately, who gives a fuck about the number? It's a matter of what the actual, what the amount of money can actually buy. What buying power do you have, bro? And buying power is just completely gone down over time because inflation, and ultimately, if we want to make things equal, bro, no one wants to increase wages, bro. No one wants to increase wages, bro. And at the end of the day, most people aren't cut out to do the entrepreneurial route, you know? So most people are going to be stuck in that lane, bro. And I'm just going to keep it a stack. There's really not too much hope in that lane.
Earning $164,000 a year in today's
At least in my mind, there's not too much hope in that lane.
Even by today's standards, even with how much we've seen inflation go up, even with how much the cost of living has risen, if you're earning $164,000 a year, you're probably doing okay right now. Unless you are horrible with your finances and you are living paycheck to paycheck because you have no control over your spending, you're probably doing pretty good. A lot better than the average person. But this chart is the perfect example that shows you that real wages really haven't kept up with the true cost of living at all. And so if you're somebody who's making higher than the $80,000 a year median annual income, consider yourself one of the lucky ones, guys. You are doing better than half of the people in this country right now. And one thing that can also help you with this, just a little side tip, is to have multiple streams of income. You know, a lot of people just have their job and rely on that. But the reality is, if you can have some other form of income coming in, that will be helpful. You know, even if it's just in the form of interest income, you have a high yield savings account that's paying you a couple $100 a month in interest. That's a secondary form of income.
And I agree. I really do believe, like, at this point, bro, look, if you look at these numbers, man, I mean, it's not optional. It's absolutely necessary to have other streams of income these days. It is. You see these stats? Are you listening to these stats? It is absolutely necessary, mandatory to have extra sources of income these days.
Have a side hustle going on or a side business on top of your job where you can bring in an extra $1,000 a month or so. that's a secondary source of income that will help you achieve these financial goals way faster and easier than someone who's just doing the bare minimum. The fifth thing that puts you ahead of the average person is also your monthly expenses. Now, let's use a different figure. Let's use average household income, not median. When you go by the average, it's $94,000 a year, according to the BLS, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But we know that these averages are skewed quite a bit higher due to the people who actually earn a lot of money. So this is not reflective of what the average person actually does earn. Well, let's just roll with these numbers for a second, okay? Average households earning $94,000 a year, but the average American expenses are about $6,080 a month, which is about 77% of the average monthly income. And this is probably more in line with reality, actually, of what most people's monthly budget is, but a lot of people don't actually have the income to support it. And you also have to remember that average of $94,000 a year, yeah, well, that is before taxes. That's gross incomes. That's not your take-home pay. So let's take a look at the average US household's budget right now. And when you see these numbers, you can see this is probably pretty close to what a lot of people are facing. Housing, $2,024.
Okay, transportation, personal insurance and pensions, healthcare, food. Yeah, I really gotta cut down my fucking food costs, bro. Like, I've been starting to grocery shop, fucking cook from home, bro. Because, like, bro, I was spending like $1,500 to $2,000 a month, $2,000 a month, bro, eating out, bro, like on some bullshit, bro. And I'm like, bro, you gotta grow the fuck up and you gotta start cooking some food. You feel me? So, but yeah, so I mean, housing, transportation, damn, gas, really, $1,000 a month on gas, for real? It's really like that? See, I don't even have a budget, so I really wouldn't know. Personal insurance and pensions, cool. I mean, what's that a total of? Like 3, 4, like 5.5K around. And that was just kind of like mental math. Not very good, but
transportation, a little over
$5,500 a month.
Personal insurance and pensions, $728 a month. Healthcare, $487 a month. Food at home, $475 a month. If you spend less than this on any of this stuff, then you are ahead of the average person. However, I wouldn't be focusing on if you spend less. I would be focusing more on the income side of things.
Yes.
Keeping your expenses in line with the average that we see here, but also keeping your income much higher than the average is the real secret to getting ahead and generating wealth, guys. It's keeping 100%. Your expenses at bay while continually increasing your income and not giving into lifestyle inflation. This is what ends up happening to most people. Everybody's guilty of it, even myself, right? Like now I can take an annual trip to California in the summertime because I don't have any kids and I don't have any debt, so I can spend a little extra money than I used to, right? That's lifestyle inflation. I couldn't do that, 7 years ago. But at least I try to keep the rest of my lifestyle in check, so it's not like I'm spending exponentially higher amount on my mortgage or my rent or anything like that, trying to keep those expenses stable, so it does leave you a little extra spending cash for fun. And only about 41% of Americans maintain a monthly budget of their finances. So if you're somebody that...
And I'm definitely of that 60% that doesn't, so I should probably get on that, for real. But like, honestly, but here's the thing. I've never been the one that's been like, budget, because at the end of the day, that's not... Most people don't, like I said, if you look at all my other videos, most people don't have a save money problem. Most people have an income issue. And a lot of problems can be solved just by making more money.
Can do this, then you will be ahead of the game as well. Now, this number 6 stat is a trick, and it comes with a caveat. But it is if you own a home, okay? Now, this is a trick because even if you own a home, it doesn't necessarily put you ahead of a lot of people. Because the caveat is you need to have a significant amount of equity in your home to really be ahead of the average person. Because a lot of
boneheads are just, any bonehead can get a crib pretty much. Okay. Let's hear the stat
about
though.
65.5% of Americans are homeowners, which is a surprisingly high amount.
That is actually pretty damn high. Like, whoa. And honestly, it's super high. I was thinking about buying a crib this summer. It's honestly too high. I think actually not owning a house may be the wave instead of owning a crib.
But once you take into consideration the age of our population, it's actually not as surprising as the numbers look. Because most people who own a home are on the older side. Because when we look at home ownership rates of young adults, those who are under 35 has declined from 46% in 1990 to 39% in 2022. So it's not looking good for the average young person right now. So if you are a young person that owns a home, well, congratulations, that's higher than I thought. Of a lot of other young people. But it's not just about owning a home. As I mentioned in my most recent video about how much it actually costs to be a homeowner, the expenses are well over $3,000 a month on average, okay? And that's just the average. So unless you can cover those expenses with ease, then you're not really as ahead of the game as you think you are.
And you're just house poor at that point, right? So like, no, I think we get the gist. Even if you have a decent
amount of equity, and I will explain why. First of all, you don't have access to that equity, guys. Unless you borrow against it with today's high interest rates, which would be very foolish to do unless you need it for an emergency, you don't have that equity. The only other way to access it besides borrow it is to sell your house. And then when you do sell, you still need to pay capital gains taxes, whether it's long-term or short-term. And you have to pay off your mortgage, and you have to subtract any of the money that you actually put into the house over the years that you owned it. Whether it's the property taxes you paid, whether it's the insurance.
Bro, taxes, bro. I'm just trying to wrap my head around that shit, bro. It's just like, one thing I don't like about making more and more money is just the tax fucking fact, bro. Kind of like deters you from wanting to make more money. Like, it's kind of, I like America, but I fucking hate it at the same time. And I'm sure that's how a lot of people feel about America. It's a love-hate relationship. Or some people just straight up hate it.
You paid, whether it's repairs, remodeling expenses, anything at all that you had to pay for on that home, in addition to your mortgage, was an expense, okay? That's also an expense that you wouldn't have as a renter. And you need to use that to really determine how much you actually walked away with in the end. And here's an example of what I mean. People say that renting is a waste of money, right? You get to the end of your lease, or maybe you've been renting for a few decades, and then you make your last rent payment, and what do you have to show for yourself? Nothing, right? Absolutely nothing. You own nothing in the end when you're a renter. But homeownership can actually work out to the same math pretty easily, guys. Let's say you sell a house, and to keep the numbers simple, you come out with $100,000 in profit. After your mortgage is paid, after everything, all the closing costs, you walk away with $100,000 in your bank account. Say you own that house for 10 years and you paid $5,000 a year in property taxes. That's 50 grand right there. Say you had to put a new roof on the house at some point, that costs you $20,000 right there. That's already 70 grand. And think about all the insurance premiums you paid over the years. Anything else you had to fix or repair in the house along the way during those 10 years of ownership? Probably. So you could have owned this property for 10 years, and even though it looks like you made $100,000 in profit, you actually made nothing because of all the expenses you had to pour into that property over the years. So I ask you, what is the difference?
But I don't know, bro. Getting $100K in equity over 10 years, I don't know. That seems kind of low to me. I've never owned a house before, so I really couldn't tell you. But I don't know. That seems kind of low. Is that low? I know it really just depends on where you are at in the market, when you bought the crib, when you sold the crib, all that stuff. But I don't know. That just seems kind of low.
Between paying for all those expenses and then essentially coming out breaking even
over 10 years, that seems pretty damn low. I'm just gonna be real.
Renting and not having any of those expenses and probably paying less in rent and then also coming out with nothing in the end. What is the difference? In my opinion, absolutely nothing. It's the same thing. And a lot of people, when they hear me say stuff like this, they think I'm against buying a house and I don't want people to buy a house. That's not true at all, guys. In fact, I help a lot of people who watch this channel buy and sell real estate all the time. I have a link in the description of every single one of my videos that you can use to...
All right. As soon as we start plugging, we gotta start running. Oh my gosh! It doesn't matter what your financial situation is. If you're not in good health, make sure you take care of yourself. Yeah, 100%. Health is way more important than all that shit. Don't give up, folks. Ever. I was broke 10 years ago, but was a bright and honest person. Keyword honest person. Things eventually got better. I'm now in a good place. If you have a chip and a chair, you're still in the game. 100%, bro. So just place a chip right on your shoulder and get to work. Just gotta get to work, man. And show up even when you don't see the results. You gotta keep showing up. You gotta keep showing up. Honestly, so many people would be so much further ahead if they didn't have emotions and they showed up like a damn robot every single day despite the results they saw. Oh, like 6 months to a year. That's all it really takes, bro, to really fucking change your life, bro. Or at least to change the trajectory of your life. You only need 6 months of intense focus. That's all you need. Get rid of everything, people. Get your liabilities to bare bones. It's going to get stupid. Yeah, I mean, living below your means, bro, is really like, you're a rich man if you can do that, bro. And I'll leave you with that. It's your boy signing off. Later.